The Color Purple, a film that made audiences cry and turned unknown actors into legends. But what if I told you the real story behind it was just as emotional, painful, and powerful as what we saw on screen? From moments of raw heartbreak to unbelievable breakthroughs, this one was more than a movie. It was a journey of soul and survival. Number 1. Whoopi Goldberg wasn't a star, she was a comedian with a dream. Before she became Sally, Whoopi was doing stand-up in small clubs in New York, performing characters she created to survive poverty and grief. When she auditioned for The Color Purple, she didn't come in with an agent or fame. She came in raw. Halfway through her reading, she broke down crying, her voice shaking, and Spielberg stopped the room. He later said, "That was the most honest emotion I've ever seen in an audition." In that moment, everyone knew Sally had found her face. Not a Hollywood actress, but a real woman who'd lived pain and laughed in equal measure. Number 2. Oprah Winfrey almost didn't even try. At the time, Oprah was just a local talk show host in Chicago. Not yet the media icon we know. She sent in an audition tape on a whim, convinced it would never reach Spielberg. Months passed with no reply, and she assumed it was all over. Until she got a call saying he wanted her for the role of Sophia. Oprah said she literally dropped to her knees and cried. It felt like a miracle, she recalled. What's even crazier, she showed up to her audition barefaced and unpolished after being told she looked too glamorous. She stopped using makeup, deodorant, perfume, everything, just to feel real. That authenticity won her the part. Number 3. The emotional weight on set was almost unbearable. The Color Purple wasn't just filmed, it was felt. Every day on set carried the emotional gravity of a century's worth of pain. They weren't just acting scenes of racism, trauma, and abuse. They were reliving the echoes of real history. The North Carolina heat only amplified it. The air felt heavy, the days long, and the tears real. Oprah once said that some mornings, the cast would gather quietly before shooting to pray together, not for success, but for strength. Whoopi would sometimes stay in Sally's headspace long after the camera stopped, sitting silently between takes, her eyes distant. "Sally wasn't a role I played," she said years later. "She was someone I carried." The emotion wasn't fabricated. It was inherited, passed down through generations, and it settled deep in the cast's bones. Number 4. Spielberg, the master of wonder, had to learn pain. By 1985, Steven Spielberg was untouchable. The man who gave the world Jaws, E.T., and Raiders of the Lost Ark. He could make aliens cry and dinosaurs roar, but The Color Purple was different. It demanded something he'd never explored before. Emotional stillness, suffering, and the kind of silence that speaks louder than dialogue. Danny Glover remembered Spielberg sometimes cutting scenes too soon because he couldn't bear the raw emotion unfolding before him. He wasn't used to that kind of pain, Glover said, but something changed in him through this film. Oprah recalled moments where Whoopi quietly guided Spielberg to slow down, to let the emotion breathe. Number 5. The church scene was completely unscripted and divine. It's one of the film's most unforgettable moments. Shug Avery walking into a church, singing "God is trying to tell you something." What most people don't know is that the entire scene was unplanned magic. Spielberg had gathered a real local congregation, handed them minimal direction, and told them simply, "Let the Spirit move." And it did. The choir's harmonies, the swaying bodies, the tears streaming down faces. None of it was rehearsed. The music just happened. Oprah later said that when she watched the scene unfold, she got chills. It wasn't acting, she said. It was worship. Even Spielberg admitted he'd never experienced anything like it on a set, that something sacred took over that day. Number 6. The music changed the film's entire heartbeat. For the first time in his career, Spielberg didn't turn to his usual collaborator, John Williams. Instead, he handed the score to Quincy Jones, the man behind Thriller, one of the most influential albums in music history. Jones saw The Color Purple not as a film, but as a symphony of human emotion. He brought in gospel choirs, blues chords, and jazz rhythms that pulsed with Southern soul. I wanted it to breathe like the land, Quincy said, to cry like Sally, to heal like hope. The score didn't just accompany the film, it carried it. Each note echoes Sally's journey from silence to strength, and it made history too. Quincy Jones became the first black producer ever nominated for Best Picture. Spielberg later said, Quincy didn't just score the movie, he gave it a soul. Number 7. The love between Sally and Shug was cut short by fear. In Alice Walker's original novel, Sally and Shug share a love that's tender, transformative, and brave. It's not just romantic, it's Sally's first taste of self-worth, her discovery that love can be healing instead of hurtful. But when the film was being made, the studio grew nervous. They wanted something safe, something family-friendly. Spielberg, still early in his journey as a dramatic director, admitted later, I wasn't brave enough. I played it safe. The intimate connection between the two women was reduced to a single quiet kiss, a whisper of what was in the book. Whoopi defended him years later, saying he did the best he could in a world not ready for that kind of love. Number 8. The dinner table explosion was completely unscripted. When Sophia finally stands up for herself, that raw emotional outburst wasn't planned at all. Spielberg told the cast to just live the moment, and Oprah's fury erupted naturally. The room went silent, even the crew stopped moving. Danny Glover said nobody breathed after that take. Spielberg didn't yell cut, he just let the silence hang. The tears, the trembling, the stunned faces, all of it was real. Number 9. The world of The Color Purple was built from scratch. Transforming 1980s North Carolina into early 1900s Georgia wasn't easy. It was like time travel through sweat and sawdust. The crew repainted buildings, covered asphalt roads with dirt, and disguised modern power lines with hand-painted backdrops. They even dyed entire fields in shades of lavender and deep violet, creating that haunting dreamlike landscape that gives the movie its name. Production designer J. Michael Riva and costume designer Aggie Gerard Rogers treated every detail like archaeology. Rogers spent weeks hunting through old thrift stores and estate sales to find authentic fabrics from the early 20th century. And number 10. The Oscars broke hearts, but the legacy outlived gold. When the nominations were announced, The Color Purple made history, with 11 Academy Award nods, including Best Picture, Best Actress, and Best Supporting Actress. But on Oscar night, it went home with nothing. Not one win. The silence in the room was deafening. Critics called it the greatest Oscar injustice since Citizen Kane. Yet for the cast and crew, it was a bittersweet triumph. Whoopi said she didn't need the statue to feel validated. That movie gave me my life, she said simply. Spielberg, who wasn't even nominated for Best Director, took it with quiet grace. Awards fade, he told reporters. This story doesn't. And he was right. Almost 40 years later, The Color Purple still moves people. Not just because of its story, but because of the truth behind how it was made. Hit that subscribe button. We've got plenty more behind-the-scenes secrets coming soon.